With that, recorder is on. Good morning, everyone. This is Lynn Hamilton with the Real Estate Missing Piece. And I want to take you through today's session. It's lesson 5 of developing your marketing foundation of your business. And we were talking just before we went on camera about why agents fail in this industry. And it is so often they are unprepared, unrealistic, uneducated. And the reality of the education is we need to hear things 3 to 5 times before we absorb it. It sinks in, it becomes part of our soul, if you will, and ready to actually activate and act on it. So hopefully, today's session, again, one of my favorites because it is probably the number one reason that agents don't have a foundation underneath them. And these are some of the important pieces of that puzzle. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about, again, you may want to take some notes, and for those that are online with me right now, I'll send you the handouts after class. But there are 4 departments within your real estate business. So there's 2 different categories. One is working on your business. The other is working in your business. And when you hear this and stop to think about it, you're going to realize how it has also applied to other things you've done in the past, but never thought of it this way. So when you're in sales, and especially in real estate, you are your own boss. You don't have a boss telling you what time you need to clock in, what time you take your break, what time you need to be doing stuff, when reports are due, when other tasks are due. You got to create that yourself. And unless you've got that structure and that discipline, you're going to have a problem. So let's talk about the working on your business and the 2 hats that you wear within your within your business. So the first hat that we wear is the marketing hat. Now, you cannot expect to succeed without doing marketing up front. Everyone thinks when they're in sales or they're in real estate, their job is to, handle transactions. No, that's the end result of having this other stuff done up front. So your first primary job is marketing. I don't care how great you are. I don't care. You've got all the tools in place. You've got all the scripts down. You've got all the conversation points down. Until you are able to let others know who you are and what you do, but more important, what value you bring to them, you're in trouble. So that is marketing. That is marketing 101, is how do you convey to others who you are and what you've got to offer. Okay. So the marketing department of your business, and you may want to jot some of these down, is determining your 4 marketing systems, which we're going to talk about today. It is also your mailing of your notes, your newsletters, your postcards. Again, you're letting people know who you are, what you do, your personal handwritten notes, and your birthday cards or whatever anniversary cards of congratulations on your house. Now, granted, there are some programs that some of us have available to us through our brokerage that can, after a transaction, you can do a set it and forget it. So just know that those tools are out there as well. The next thing that falls into the marketing department is getting your message out of your value proposition, which includes your free reports, your newsletters, letting those people that know you know that you know what the heck you're doing, and that you have a pulse on the shifting and ever-changing market, that you have the right message to them. And it's not ego marketing. Number one mistake I see agents make all the time is their marketing message is, I'll do a great job for you. I'm available 24/7. I'm ethical. I'm professional. Okay. That is the wrong message going out, because they truly don't give a rip about that part. They want to know, what can you bring to them? Because it's all about them. And that's where your free reports come in. It's common mistakes that home buyers make, common mistakes that sellers make, how to maintain their property, how to keep their value up. That is all valuable information to them. So again, make sure you're getting the right message to the right target. Okay. So that's the marketing department of your business that you need to have that hat on. The next hat that you wear is managing. And again, when you worked for someone else, they managed you. They managed your time. They told you when to do, what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and when it needed to be done. When you're self-employed, either in sales or in real estate, you got to be able to manage yourself, but you got to know what you need to be doing. So that's managing your schedule, managing your office space, managing your finances, managing your website, your Facebook, your social media, managing those components, managing the fact that you have a buyer and seller's notebook ready to go. If somebody calls you and says, hey, family emergency, job relocation, just got a great job offer, I need to move. Can you come over in 30 minutes and do a listing, talk to me about listing my house? Now is not the time to try to print out the seller's notebook. You should have one at the ready, and where all you need to do is customize the front page, print out your CMA, your market stats, then you're ready to go. Because never fails, if you wait to the last minute and don't have it ready, is when the cartridges go out in your printer and you don't have a backup, the paper jams and you can't get it out of your printer, power outage or internet outage, and you can't get to it and print it. So always try to have at least one at the ready and ready to go, where all you have to do is grab it, customize the front page, put the customized information in there, and you're ready to go. Same thing for the buyer consultation. Okay. All right. So the next component in the managing of your business is reviewing and learning and reading the contracts and disclosures. You should know those things inside out and backwards. I know that all brokerages, and I know we do here as well, have great classes on going through the contracts, the disclosures, what it means, how it affects the market as it changes, but you should be able to pretty much read those upside down. Now, I always have to share this story because it still makes me giggle. Years ago, when I was teaching in California, was teaching a contracts class, I stopped one of our agents and asked if she was coming to class. And she said, what are we doing? What are we going to be covering? I said, we're doing the buyer's purchase agreement. And she said, oh, I don't need that. I'm going to specialize and be a listing agent. And I went, okie dokie then. So my question to her then was, so am I correct in assuming that you are going to do a listing but not sell it? And she said, oh no, I'll list it and sell, get it sold. I said, okay, but let's pretend for a second that I've got the buyer. I write a purchase contract. I submit it to you to give to your seller, and she's got a question on it, and you don't know anything about the purchase contract. How are you going to answer her question, his or her question? She looks at me with this blank stare and says, oh, I didn't think about that. I said, yeah, I'll see you at class at noon. And sure enough, she was there. Doing, can't believe that. So again, know your contracts, know your disclosures. Always, always, always take a few minutes every day to read a page and then ask yourself, if my buyer has a question on this, if a seller has a question on this, what do I tell them? Okay. How do I explain that? All right. So the other part of managing your business is obviously attending classes, getting your general prep work in, getting your CE credits in, everything you need to do to prep to be ready on your toes to go into working in your business. So these things are the working on your business. Now let's get into the working in your business. So the first hat that we wear is the advocate and the consultant hat. The advocate and the consultant hat is when you are actually face to face with leads, prospects, and clients. When you are their advocate, you are building the referral resources network that is needed to provide that great service to your client. So you're their advocate, you are their consultant, you are their realtor, and your PPS, professional problem solver. Okay. All right. So the last hat that you wear, which is the magician's hat, which is why I chose that, is you are reading your contracts and disclosures, you're previewing properties, you know what the market is doing, you know what the market in your area is doing, you know that homes are, it's taking 7 to 10 days for them to go under contract versus 2 to 3 days, but not 30 days. So you're monitoring and taking a look on a daily basis in the MLS to see what's happening in your area and what's happening in your marketplace. You're writing contracts. And even if you are fairly new and don't have a contract to write, make one up. Print out a blank and hand write it and fill it in, and then go back and cross-reference it to the handout that you got from when you took your contracts class, and make sure you got everything in there that's important. And if you really even want to, double check yourself, bring it in, let your broker take a quick peek at it and say, did I miss anything important? Okay. So that is the realtor hat that you wear, so that when you are actually getting ready to go work with a client, you are much more prepared. You are much more on your toes, because it's not like, oh my God, this is the first time I'm doing this. So you're working on your contracts, you're also working on your transactions, and you're getting paid and going to the bank or getting that money deposited in. So that is the last part, is the realtor hat. But you cannot wear the realtor hat unless your advocate consultant hat has been worn. You cannot do that unless you've been managing your business. You cannot do that unless you've marketed your business. So the 4 of them all go hand in hand and flow and work together. Okay? Please, please, please realize that is a critical component of this business as well. So let's move into the marketing departments of your business. So if I were to ask you why there are 4 tires on the car or 4 legs on a chair, what would you say? Now, if you said for balance and stability, you are absolutely right. Now, if I were to ask you if I could go pop one of the tires on your car, kidding, not going to do it, or I'm going to break the leg off on the chair that you're sitting on, which one do you want me to pop or break off? Front, back, right, or left? Well, neither. And don't tell me you're the spare tire. So knowing that there are 4 there for a reason. It is for balance and stability. Now, this is Marketing 101. And again, I'm going to shout out and give credit where credit is due. This is something that Todd Bates from Mastermind Marketing years ago taught me when I went to a workshop. Best $500 I spent. I walked away with this. It was that aha moment that helped change my business. So when the dive of 08, 09, 010 hit, it slowed me down, but it didn't cripple me. Okay. So when you remember that the reason that there's 4 is for that balance and stability, and then also consider what Todd used to call recession-proof marketing. So ask yourself, what are the things that happen in a person's life that changes the need, not the want, the need for where they live? It is obviously job relocation or retirement. It is family, either getting married, having children, getting divorced, that changes the need for where they live. Death, that'll do it. Divorce, that'll do it. And again, retirement. So those are things that happen every day, every week, every month, year after year, without fail, regardless of what the world, the economy is doing. So if you think about how you can tap into one of those categories as one of the legs of your business, even if something else shifts and juggle, you can juggle and wiggle for a little bit and then get it back in and get another pillar added in there. So you've got 4. So that's what I want to kind of, embed in your brain, the importance of having 4. You're going to start with 1, which is always going to be your database. Always, always, always. Build out your database. Brian Buffini does some beautiful YouTube videos on the importance of your database. We've talked about database a couple days ago in Rapid Fire. The importance of being able to sort them, organize them, categorize them, know who you've got, know who potential buyers are, who potential sellers are, who are renters that may buy someday, depending on the market. So that is always, always your 1 pillar. Now, unless you've got 500 or thereabouts, 3 to 500 in your database that know you, know what you do, and it's not a mailing list, then you probably need to have other pillars as part of your business. Because again, you cannot rely on enough business to come out of that one source to sustain you. You may get 1, 2, or 3 transactions out of there. You may get 4, 5, or 6 out of there. Is that enough? So we're going to take a look at what are the other options for building out your database. So one thing I want to share with you is there are 5 types of buyers out there. There are first-time home buyers. There are move-up buyers. They're the dream home or trophy buyers. They're the downsizing buyers, or there's the investors. So envision that for a second. Jot those down real quick because we're going to come back and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. All right. So, oops. Did that go too far? Let me see. Nope, there we go. Okay, so there are also 6 types of sellers. There is your move up sellers, the move down sellers, a death that has been in the family that changes their need for where they live. You got divorce, you got job relocation, and you got flippers, or your investors. So again, there are 6 reasons that people sell. And again, the primary question is, when their home no longer meets their needs, is when they will buy or sell based off what has happened in their life. Okay? All right, now let's take a look. There are other options to consider. Okay, we already got that one. Let's get on to the next one. There we go. Okay, so there's other systems that also might include for sale by owners, notice of default, foreclosures, short sales, absentee owners, which is a brilliant one, by the way, investors, okay, expired listings, geo farming, which we're doing a class next week at the office, by Zoom actually, on geo farming, referral based marketing, which again comes from your databases, open houses, new construction, first time home buyer seminars, and working with brides. Okay, so what I would ask you to do at this point is pause for a second and ask yourself, if I have to right now pick out 4 options, database always being number 1, what are the other 3 pillars, marketing systems that hit your hot button that you would say, oh yeah, I want to work that? Is it for sale by owners? Is it expired listings? Is it geo farming? Is it doing open houses until the cows come home? Is it, first time home buyers? What is it that hits your hot button that you would say, yes, I could get on board and I could get excited about working that? Take a second, jot down 4. Okay. And if you are online, go ahead and post them in the chat box. What are the 4 that hits your hot button? Okay. Because we're going to talk in just a second about how to start breaking those down. Okay. So here's just an extra couple little bonus tips on this one. How to really hand out a business card. You don't just hand it to them and say, here. You want to make sure it's facing them. If you have it sideways or facing you and you're handing it over to them, that is actually in some cultures considered rude. So, and if you are ever receiving a card, you want to take it, you want to make sure you look at it real quick before you stick your gum in it and stick it in your purse or your pocket. Okay. So here's how to really hand out a business card. So once you hand it over to them, don't let go yet. You still hang on to it. You don't do a tug of war with it, but you still hang on to it. And what you say is, and again, this will be in the handout, the reason I'm giving you my card is that someday you're going to come across someone who needs my help with something real estate related. When that time comes, you now have my information that you can share with them. Or you can even take a picture of it so you'll have it in your phone, in your photos, and you can pass it on. Sound like a plan? Great. Then you let go of the card and let them have it. Okay? So next thing we want to share is it's a technique called let's do lunch. It could be let's do coffee, let's do tea, let's do an ice cream, let's do a soda, let's do a smoothie. I don't care. Here's the concept of it. So you want to take a look at who in your database are your top 10 or your top 25. What you want to do is you want to meet them not on a Monday, not on a Friday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays are the best days in which to meet someone. Basically, you want to just, say, hey, let's treat coffee, let's get caught up, meet them wherever, chit chat for a few minutes, but you do also want to set your phone alarm before you go in for about 25 minutes, because you don't want to take too long, but you want to get your message across as well. So you would set your alarm, so it's going to go off discreetly. So you chit chat with them, find out what's going on in the world, how's the work, how's the dogs, how's the cats, how's the kids, how the whatever, find out what's going on in the world. It's a great way to get caught up. And then you can at the end, and here's where the power comes in at the closing. So at the end of the conversation, and again, I'm going to thank Joe Stump by referral only, because this is a technique that came from him. So the conversation would go, I am your go-to source for anything real estate related. You know that my mission is to help you protect and maintain the value of your greatest asset, which of course is your home. Then you call them by name. So Susan, may I ask you a question? Now, you want to use their name there just in case their brain has kind of floated off somewhere. You want to pull it back in and got their attention. And then you would say, someday you or someone you know is going to need my help with something real estate related. When that happens, are you comfortable introducing them to me? Didn't say refer. Are you comfortable introducing them to me? That way I can interview with them to see if I can provide the service and the benefit that they need. They'll usually say yes. Then your response is promised. They will usually a slight giggle and say yes. That is where the conversation ends. Now, this is where the embedded commands come in that goes into their brain and starts programming over. As we talked about the other day, it loops back around 10,000 times, the good and the bad in the brain. Yes, I know you're my go-to source. I know that your mission is to help me protect and maintain the value of my greatest asset. And someday I'm going to come across someone who's going to need your help. And yes, I am comfortable introducing them. And I promised. Okay. So that is what is going to be replaying in their brain and rotating over and over and over again. Okay. So in follow-up of that, you do want to write a handwritten note. Text is great. Email is fine. But if you have the ability to send them a handwritten note, that is going to tie it down with much more strength. It was great to visit with you today. I know that you will enjoy my monthly newsletter and tips I send out. Feel free to share them and pass them on. And remember, the next time you come across someone who needs my help with something real estate related, remember, I am your go-to source. Okay, so that is how you follow that up. So here's the recommendation. You want to meet with your key people twice a year. So once every 6 months. So start with a list of 10. Who do you need as an old friend or connection or contact to say, hey, would love to get together, treat you to a quick coffee, tea, whatever it is that you're into. And then once you have the chit chat conversation, make sure that you are doing that closing conversation with, that I'm your go-to source. That my mission is to help you maintain the value of your greatest asset. Can I ask you a question? Someday you or someone is going to need my help with something real estate related. When that day comes, are you comfortable introducing them to me? Okay, so that is how that loops around and ties back down again. Okay, and that note will help follow it up. So the next thing we wanted to hit was glossary of terms. Again, it's going to be in the handout. The biggest one that I wanted to bring to your attention is a lead versus an inquiry. I know that agents say all the time is they're buying leads. No, you're not. You are buying inquiries. Most of the time, those people do not know that the minute they put their information into whatever system it is, whether it be Facebook, social media, whatever, that their information is being sold to multiple agents in that industry to follow up on. So that is why it is an inquiry, not necessarily a lead. Now, a lead is someone who is interested in buying or selling, and they're ready to have a conversation with you about it. An inquiry is simply that. They were curious, they hit the button, and now they're wondering why everybody under the sun is giving them a call. So make sure you got your correct terminology so it doesn't drive you batty in this industry. So here's what I want you to do next. I want you to stop thinking about hitting a target, and I want you to start thinking of going for the bullseye. So let's give you a couple scenarios on this one. If one of your pillars of your marketing department is obviously your database, the same message to the entire database is not going to be effective. You want to be able to separate out who are your renters versus who are your homeowners. Because to send a message to a renter, whether it be through geofarming or whether it be through your database, is, hey, when you're ready to sell your home, and they're thinking, I don't have a home to sell, they disregard that message. And it goes in the trash, in their brain as well as physically. It goes in the trash. So if you're dealing with homeowners, you would want to go, instead of, hey, you're thinking about selling, come down to the bullseye and then ask the question, when your home no longer meets your needs, I'm here to guide you with your options. When your home no longer meets your needs, I am here to guide you with your options. That is going for the bullseye. Now they have a message embedded in their little brain. When my home no longer meets my needs, I know who to call. Same thing when you're going, let's talk about the renters within either your geofarm or whether it's in your database. Sending them that message means nothing. So the question that you would send to your renters is something along the line of, did your landlord thank you for paying his mortgage? Or did you know you are paying a mortgage, just not your own? Now, I want to share a great resource with you. It's a company called Remark, REAMARK.com. They are, company's been around forever, in my opinion. They were around when I first started back in 04 or 304. They have a great product line geared towards real estate agents with marketing messages. I would go to their website, peruse through their site. Whenever I was mind bogged and I was needing to come up with the right message or the right wording, that they were always my go-to source for kind of, brain thinking. You can request a catalog and they'll send it to you. And I usually have one in my desk so that if I'm needing to do something and I'm getting in a brain fog, I can go to that and say, okay, I like that sentence, and put them together. So again, there's a lot of good messages already out there. You do not need to reinvent the wheel, and you do not need to try to come up with your own. It's already out there. You just got to look around and find it a little bit. Okay. So when you're talking about building out your pillars, your marketing systems, whatever you want to call it, number one is your database. Here's what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, how will I identify them? Okay, so they're friends, family, church, social groups, friends of mine. Where will you get their information? They're on Facebook with me. They're in my phone, whatever. So you're asking who you're going to identify. Where are you going to get their information? The third question you ask yourself in planning out and mapping out this is, what message needs to go to them? Now, you do not need 12 messages necessarily. You need 4, because you can start January, February, March, April, rotate back around to number 1, May, June, July, August, and then September, October, November, December. You can repeat the message specifically in a rotation, because again, they may forget about it, the first time around, but they're going to catch it the next time around. So you want to think about what message do you want to get out to them. then the next question you will ask yourself and plan is, when will they get this information? Is it my newsletter? Okay. Which newsletter are you going to use? Because there's a lot of them out there. What day of the month are they going to get the newsletter? All right. So mine was always, the newsletter went out the first of the month. And I would ask them as I was, doing my prep work was, do you want it emailed to you or would you prefer snail mail? So when emails became, more popular and kind of the go-to source, I was split. Half of my database wanted them mailed to them, which I was fine with, and the other half wanted them by mail. In your database, whatever you're using, you should be able to categorize, sort, do all kinds of fun stuff. Even if it's in Excel, you can create and sort that list so that you can know which ones you need to mail to and which ones you need to email to. All right, so what day of the month is that going to go out? Now, I will tell you, here's the downside. Once you get used to, and they get used to getting it the first of the month, if you will ever miss it, by the 5th, they're calling you. I didn't get my newsletter. Did they go out already? Did I miss it? Did it, I don't find it. I checked my junk and it's not in there. So the downside is once you start on a routine, you better be able to stay with it because they will notice and they will call a question, which is a good thing. All right. All right. So the next question you're going to ask yourself is, okay, so my newsletter is going to go out the first of the month. What is the method of delivery? Is it a social media post? Is it a phone call? Is it an email? Is it snail mail? How are they going to get that information? Okay. So in this scenario, if you're talking about your newsletter, it's going to go out the first of the month and it will be either mail or email, depending on what they want. Next component is, what is your call to action? Now, you never want to say, call me now, because they don't want to call you now. So your call to action is often something like, feel free to go to my website 24/7. I've got free reports on there and other valuable information for you. You want to send them to a neutral place because they're not ready to talk to you yet. Send them to a neutral place, and utilizing your website is your best resource to send them to there to get monthly tips, to get additional reports, to get additional information. And that also keeps you making sure that you are managing your business and keeping your website up to date. And again, it does not take that long to do. Hopefully you've got a website that is able to be customized a bit and easy breezy. If you are with my company and do not know how to do that, let me know and I will show you how to do it. But your call to action should never be, call me now. Kids, especially if it's midnight and they're looking at your newsletter, you don't want them calling you at midnight. So you want to send them to a neutral third party, which is your website, to get additional information at their convenience and at their leisure. And you can also even word it, my virtual assistant, parentheses, website is available for you 24/7. Okay, go visit. But also to tell them what is on your website that you're wanting them to go see. Don't just say, go to my website. No, go to my website for you'll find free reports. You'll find a newsletter. You will find additional information for buyers or sellers. Specify to them what they are going to your website to find. Okay. Because if not, they're going to go and just kind of bounce around a little bit and, bounce right back off of it again. So those are the bullet points, if you will, that you want to map out as you're marketing or developing out your marketing pillars, your marketing departments. So database, how you identify them, where will you get their information, what message are you going to send to them, when will they get it, how will they get it, and what is your call to action for them. Okay, that is, instead of going for the target, that's going in for the bullseye. All right, so let's go on to another option and take a look at how you would market out, let's say, a geo farm, because that's another one that's very common. Just because I'm just going to make up numbers, just because there's 700 homes in that development does not mean you are going to market to all 700 of them. You need to take a look at, once you kind of break this down, and we're going to walk through it, you're going to ask yourself, do I have the financial means to support this for the next 12, 18 to 24 months? And if 750 isn't going to do it, you take it down to a workable number. Okay, so let's walk through this in detail. So let's say that your second pillar, your second leg, your second marketing department, other than your database, is going to be geofarming. You want to take a look at what area you're thinking about. So let's say it's your neighborhood of Spring Valley Estates. So you're going to take a look and you're going to find out that there's 700 homes in there. And you're thinking, I probably don't have enough money to support 700. So I'm going to start with a smaller amount, but let's take a look. So what you want to do is you want to go into your Bright MLS system and you want to bring up Spring Valley Estates or whatever the neighborhood is. You want to find out how many absentee owners are in there versus owner occupied. You want to take a look at how many properties have sold in that development the current year, the previous year, the year before that, and even the year before that. Take a look at about 3 years and then the current year that you're in. It's going to give you a pulse to see what the turnover is. You want to have at least 8 to 10% turnover in that neighborhood in order to have a good, healthy geofarm to go for. So you're going to take a look at that. You're going to take a look at what the price range is. Is it very close? Is it a cookie cutter, what I call a cookie cutter development, where they're all kind of within about a $50,000 range, or are they kind of all over the place? So you want to take a look at that as well. And then you want to, just out of curiosity, scan through the solds and look to see who the listing agent and the selling agent was. Typically, you do not want to take on an area where an agent has 30 to 50% of the marketplace. Now, I'm going to throw my little 2 cents in on that one. Years ago, when I was a new agent, there was an area that I was looking at, and I was told, oh, no. So-and-so dominates that market. He's does everything in there. So when I learned this technique, I pulled up the area, saw how many homes were there, saw what the turnover was meeting the criteria. And then when I went through and looked to see if so-and-so, Bob Smith, let's say, how many transactions in there he actually did, it was fewer than I thought. Why? I discovered that part of his marketing was to put 10 signs up for every listing he had in that area. So anybody coming in the area from any direction were seeing multiples of his signs, assuming that every sign referenced a listing and that he did a whole heck of a lot in that area. When truth be told, he really didn't. I mean, he did a lot in there. Give him credit. He did a lot in there. He did a lot of marketing in there, but he had a decent amount, but he didn't dominate it as much as everyone thought he did. So with that, I quickly looked at the numbers and went, shoot, even if I had 10% of the market, I'd still be good. So I went after it. Now, there was another area close by that I really found that I liked. 118 homes, but there was only 1 or 2 that sold up there a year. So it really didn't have the turnover rate that would be beneficial for me to market up there long term. And the other thing is, it was tucked away. So it did not give me signage opportunity for branding my name and my, my business, because it was, you had to make 3 or 4 turns to get into the area. So I disregarded that one and stayed partially in the first one. So I identified an area, identified how many homes were in there. I identified how many were owner occupied versus non-owner occupied. And you could do that through your Bright MLS. Just there's a little category that says owner occupied, yes or no. Click on it. You should be able to get it. I identified what the turnover was, identified owner occupancy rate, I identified how many properties in there sold current year and for the 3 previous and prior years. So it kind of gave me a good base to say, okay, this has got enough turnover that it would be worth my time. It's got great signage opportunity as well. I'm going to go ahead and yes. And then you're going to ask yourself, how many can I start with? Now, you can start with 50, you can start with 100, and you can always build out. All right. So same thing as we've done with pillar number 1. We're going to ask, how will I identify them? More than likely, you're going to go to your Bright MLS and do some searches. Where will I get their information? Obviously, Bright MLS. You can get it from there. What is the message that I want to go out to them? Do I want to do postcards because it's a little bit cheaper? Do I want to buy the postcards and then mail them myself? Do I want to find a company who will do them for me? And what is the right message to them? So let's say you've got an area you've identified, I'm just going to make up some numbers, 200 homes, and you find out that 35 of them are non-owner occupied, which means there's 35 renters and 35 of those homes that the owner lives somewhere else. You want to make sure that you separate that list so that you've got the owners with the right message going to them. And again, it goes back to that famous line that says, when your home no longer meets your needs and you're ready to downsize or trade up, I'd love to offer you some guidance and some suggestions. So you've now identified what's 200 minus 35, 65, 165 homes that you're going to send those messages to. You're going to find your 4 messages you want to go with. If you live in the area, you can certainly say something along the lines in there. I love this neighborhood because I live here too. And again, if you go back to Remark and take a look, they got some great stuff in there as well to kind of joggle the brain to get the right message. And when I did one recently, I pulled a line off this card, and then I liked the line off this card, and I liked the line off this card. And so I made sure that I was getting the right wording that hit and resonated with me, and that sounded like me as well. Okay, so there was a question that popped in about where do you find where they live now. There should be a component within the search records that'll show where they currently live. We'll find out, and I'll answer that with you directly. So good question, though. So you're identifying your 4 messages to just your homeowners. Then when will they get the information? Okay, once again, I'm going to send it out because see, my newsletter is going out the 1st of the month. I may choose to send this out the 2nd week of the month because I want to make sure that my newsletter is going out to my database from pillar number 1. This is pillar number 2. I'm going to go ahead and send out the 2nd week of the month. The method of delivery, okay, because I don't have necessarily their emails. I don't have their phone numbers. I'm going to have to mail it or hand deliver it to their doors. All right. So figure out which works for you. And yes, you can buy those cute little plastic bag door hangers where you can put the postcard, a message in there and literally hang it on their doorknob of their house. Do not ever put it in their mailbox or hang it on the mailbox. Technically, the mailbox belongs to the federal government. You cannot mess with it. And yes, there are some areas that'll get real stickily and somebody will complain and you'll get a fine. Don't do that. So, and then once again, you've identified the message you want to go to them. You've decided when you're going to give them their message and by which means of the message. And then your last question is, what is your call to action? Well, again, you don't want to say, call me. Because if they're looking at this at midnight, they know they can't call you or you don't want them to call you. So again, your best resource for this one is to please feel free to visit my website 24/7 for information on current market status, what's going on in the neighborhood, free reports for buying or selling, or tips on preparing your home for sale. So again, you can rotate your call to action if you want, with the 4 messages that are going out. So each one can have a different one that's connected with it. Once you get this thought through and planned out, then it can go on autopilot. If you think every month you're going to need to sit down and figure out, how to get the right message out to your right target, you're going to go crazy. So prep them ahead, have them ready to go, and have it automated as much as possible. Okay. So let's talk about this farm again. You've got 100, I think we figured 65 that are owner occupied. Now we're going to talk about the non-owner occupied. You've got 2 additional messages to go there. You've got the message to the renters, and you have the message to the owners that live somewhere else. Now, on the owners that live somewhere else, you do not know if they're an actual investor or they just have the family home that they quickly need to move mom and dad out of, and the market was, or they moved out of, and the market was wonky and they couldn't sell right then because they may have been upside down. So they had to rent it for a few years. You don't know yet what the circumstances are. So keep in mind, just as a little side note here, when you've got a homeowner that has a job that requires them to have security clearances, it has been often said that they cannot have a short sale or a foreclosure because it has the potential of jeopardizing their security clearance. So if they needed to relocate or got relocated and they discovered they bought at the peak and now they're $20,000 under current market value, they can't sell it. They're going to have to rent it, whether they like it or not. So just kind of, you can, if you follow the market and know where the ups and downs had been, you can kind of go back and look on their tax records as well to see what they purchased for and how long ago. And sometimes you can figure that out. So, but you don't know right now whether it's, they own other properties, they're an investor, or they're just a one-time renter or landlord. So in next week's class, we're going to talk more about how to get into the nitty-gritty on that, but then also to what message you're going to send to the renters. And let's say there's 35 of them. What message you're going to send to them. Again, my best recommendation is go to Remark, get some ideas off of there, and send those messages out. All right. So that is how you walk through what is my target? How am I going to identify them? How am I going to get their information? Where am I going to be able to get it? What message needs to go out to them? When will they get that information? What is the method of delivery? So the how. Is it going to be, social media posts? Is it going to be mail, snail mail, phone call, whatever? And then what is your call to action? Based off that target of what's going to be important to them, guide them with what to find on your website. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So once you get through, let's say your geo farming, you're going to do your database month 1. You're going to make sure that that is up and ready to go. It could take you a week, it could take you 2 weeks, it could take you 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Once that is done, then you will develop out the second pillar. In this scenario, we were just talking about geo farming. Once you've gotten that mapped out, broken down, know exactly what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, and you've got those dates on your calendar, the second Monday of every month is, and again, you can set it on your calendar and set it to repeat so it goes every week. What is the message you're going to send out to them? And then you'll go to your third component. What is the third pillar? What is the third leg, the third tire that you are going to develop out for your marketing? Now, I've had agents told me, they love doing open houses because they can also geo farm around that open house. We're going to talk more about that next week. But just know that you would then go through the same exercise of identify them, what information they're going to get, what is the message, or where we're going to get their information, what message is going to go, when will they get it, what is the method of delivery, and what is my call to action for them, for that group. Okay. That is where you go from target into bullseye. You start going for the bullseye. You know, quit throwing jello on the wall and hoping it's going to stick. All right. So that is how you walk through and map out your different variables. Now, again, there are a lot of different options and no two people are exactly the same. So a lot of it comes down to what hits your hot button. Now, the sample that I showed you, talk about let's do lunch. You know what? For all I care, that could be option number 3 for you or option number 4 for you. So you would just make sure that you've got it mapped down, mapped out. What is the message or what is the little gift you want to take them? And how often are you going to meet them? Who are they? Flag them, tag them, and get them ready to go. Okay. So hopefully that has given you a different level of understanding about the 4 departments working on your business, working in your business. Understanding you got to wear all 4 of those hats. You got to wear all 4 of those hats. And if not, something's going to be amiss and you're going to be missing pieces because the business cannot sustain when you're missing the major components of your business foundation. Okay. Next thing, obviously look at what are the 4 systems you want to implement and pull together and put together. If it's first-time home buyers, let's say that could be pillar number 3 or pillar number 4. Now, in 2022, first-time home buyers are going to be a little more challenging. Why? Because all of our economic gurus have all said early on that 2022 was going to be a little challenging, not impossible, but challenging for first-time home buyers. Why? Inventory is low. Anybody knows that sellers are going, yeah, I can sell for great money, but what am I going to be able to find to buy? So it may not make sense for them to sell right now because they can't find a place to buy. So construction, new construction, again, because of the cost of supplies skyrocketing, builders cannot absorb and cushion the price up to accommodate rising prices in that $200,000 to $300,000 home purchase price. They can do it on the higher end, but they can't do it on the lower end. So a lot of homes that are being built are from our area is that 400 and above range. Why? Because they can cushion that price in there. And again, not impossible, a little more challenging. First-time home buyers in that category are going to have some struggles. But if you say, but you know what, I love working with first-time home buyers, and yes, I want to build that out as my pillar 3, pillar 4, I'm going to say, great, here's how you do it. You're going to start looking at who are the renters in areas. And then again, you can build out 100 or 200 eventually in your marketing to them. And they could be, scattered out through 5 different developments, and that's okay. You're getting the message to them, letting them know what the market is doing, sending them to your website to get free information for first-time home buyers. You're giving them free information on what are the things that need to be taken into consideration, debt to income ratio, should they talk to a lender now, even if they're thinking they're not going to be ready in a year? I would say, yeah, connect them with a lender, because a lot of times your lenders have some wonderful information to help them either get ready or stay ready for a couple of months until the market shifts again where you can get them in. Okay. So don't rule that one out completely, but just know that may be a little bit longer marketing to them in order to get them in a position to buy. Now, the other thing is too, if they're renting in a really nice area, they probably can buy at some point. So, keep that in mind and consider that. So let me flip over my questions real quick. There was a question, absentee owners, absolutely. Absentee owners are a great source to go to, because here's why. If they were a single landlord during the pandemic and coming out of it, they may be thinking, I am so done with this. Because you don't know if they had an amazing renter in there or if they had the renter from hell in there. So if it's a single owner, and again, sometimes you don't know, you just kind of have to throw it out and, say, and again, there's a letter that can be done, and we're going to talk about it next week's class, but I'll actually give you a sample of one. Are you tired of being a landlord? Did you have the renter from hell? And they may go, yeah. And they may be ready to sell, especially if it's been a single home. So they may not need to buy something else. They just need to get rid of that one. Now, if they're an investor, the comment may be is, are you, I see that you own this home in this area. Are you looking, would you be open to knowing what other properties in the area are coming available? And if they raise their hand and get back with you and say, yeah, obviously you put that neighborhood into a search. So the second something pops up, they can also be notified as well. Because again, sometimes an investor, once they have a house or two in one area, if they find it's a good one, they'll want to pick up another home or two in that same area. So again, you've got two mindsets on absentee owners, and up front, you don't always know which category they fall into. Again, they could have a great renter in there and are happy to leave them in there. And then you also need to ask, if you do get contact with them, does the renter have the first option to buy? Because sometimes it has been written in their lease that they do have the first right of refusal. So if the house is going to go on the market, they do have the first opportunity to raise their hand and say, yes, I'd like to buy it. All right. So you need to ask that question. And a lot of times if they don't remember, they will need to go back to the lease and actually read it to make sure that they did not specify that they give that renter the first right of refusal. Okay. All right. So hopefully that answers your question. So again, any of these components will work. Any of them will work over time. The hardest part in this business is not knowing for sure when and where your transactions are going to come from. And, when I have agents come in, and again, I've trained over 3,000 of them so far, and I have an agent come in that says, I need a transaction like right away because, I got bills due next month. I said, we got a problem. Okay. Because you don't know when. People are not going to buy or sell because they got your newsletter. They are not going to buy or sell because you need a transaction, you need a paycheck. They will buy or sell and contact you when their need has changed and you have stayed top of mind with information of value, either through a postcard, newsletter, email, guiding them and directing them into your website for free information and free reports. Now you have provided information of value. You are top of mind. And when their need changes is when you will get the call from them that says, hey, Susan, things have changed. I need to sell. Okay. So keep that in mind as well. And as I say, we were talking just before we went on air. I got a great report from a gal that I follow, reasons why agents don't make it. And the numbers are staggering, but I think the core bottom line is unrealistic expectations coming in. Now, granted, I've had to catch myself and stop and step back. I was very blessed and very lucky. When I first got my license, I had my first transaction within 2 weeks of me getting my license, and it was a $750,000. I was representing the buyer. And I get it. That doesn't happen to everybody. Sometimes it's months before a transaction, somebody raises their hand and says, hey, thanks for, getting me all this information. Life has changed. We need to sell, or I'm ready to buy now. So again, patience, deliberate, intentional, timely, which is monthly, information to them, and staying gingerly and gently top of mind as an industry. I'm going to say expert, but an industry, you know about what's going on in the market and you know what's going on in the industry. That is where you will survive and maintain. And all of the stuff that's done ahead of time is the planting the seed and planting the seed. So we've got a lot of farmers around this area. So they don't plant their corn and harvest it next week. They plant the corn. They need to have it watered and pray for rain on a regular basis. They may need to fertilize it. They may need to do weed, maintenance. They need to make sure that there's no bugs getting into it. So it is exactly in comparison to what you do to build out the components of your real estate business. Is you've got to identify what you're going to plant, make sure that it's watered and nurtured, make sure the bugs aren't getting it, make sure that it's, getting the nutrients that it needs, the information of value. And so when it's time to harvest, you're top of mind and we'll hopefully get that call. So with that, if there are any further questions, let me know. You can shoot me an email. For those that are viewing this online, you can shoot me an email through 4houseinfo, the number 4houseinfo.com. With that, I hope that this has been of value. Those that are online with me right now, go ahead and stay with me. And I'll give you a chance to ask any specific questions. But I always like to include every once in a while with what's on my library. Monday Morning Choices was a great book. It was one that I found that I enjoyed. I have no skin in the game on these, so you can find them on Amazon, obviously, or wherever your books are sold. But that was one that I just wanted to share with you as well. And Monday is always a good time to start the week, obviously. And know too that this business does not run 9 to 5. It's going to run on inconvenient hours. You're going to get calls at 6 and say, hey, can you meet me at 7? You're going, darn it. I was planning on kicking back in my jammies, watching a movie with the family. You may have to get up and go. So anyway, just know that it is crazy. It is a roller coaster ride, but man, oh man, can it be rewarding and productive as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end my recording and I will see you all next time.